Welcome to Tell Me Your Story, new paradigms for a new world where we're giving you choices and knowledge of those choices to help make your dreams come true. We are here 9 times a week, Sundays at 7 a.m. and 7 p.m., Monday mornings at 1 a.m., Wednesdays at 9 a.m., and Monday through Friday from 8 to 9 a.m., streaming live at all those times at richarddugan.com. We are on SoundCloud, iTunes, TuneIn Radio, Spotify, Stitcher, Player FM, as well as YouTube, where you can watch these conversations. I hope that you will take time to subscribe and click notifications so that when a new conversation is posted, you'll be notified and you'll be able to tune in, listen in, and learn, be entertained and inspired. A reminder that Choices, which is my book, 5 Steps for Life, it's available on Amazon.com in paperback, hardcover, and Kindle with Audible, soon to be released. We also ask that if you can support the work that we are doing financially, we do have a PayPal account. It is there for your security as well as ours. And when they ask for an email address to whom you're sending, please go to richard@richarddugan.com. That's the email address. If you go to richarddugan.com, there is also a link directly to PayPal so that you can send us whatever support you can. And we thank you to those who have helped and to those who will help. We also ask that you take time during this decade of perfect vision, the 2020s, to go within to that quiet, peaceful, calm, still place and listen to that still, small voice. And with that, we now take you to our very special interview and guest here on Tell Me Your Story. And welcome to Tell Me Your Story, New Paradigms for a New World. I'm Richard Dugan, your host, and it is always, as I say on this program, a pleasure to come your way. We have a very special guest on the program. It's going to be fascinating, the conversation. She is an author, and we're going to talk about her book as well, but also her area of expertise in the particular field of her choosing. First of all, introducing Joy Kong, MD. Thank you so much for being with us. And I guess I can add to that, author.
Thank you, Dr. D. It's great to be here with you. Yes, I did write a book. I wrote a memoir.
And it's called Tiger of Beijing. It's the inspirational memoir of a fierce regenerative medicine physician. Wow. First of all,
I've
fierce.
been told I was fierce ever since I was a little kid.
I was just going to ask you. So I don't want to meet you in a back alley.
That's just how people characterize me.
Or
just
all
who
right.
I
Well,
am.
absolutely. Well, obviously, tenacious would be another word, but fierce actually it flows a lot better. Let's go ahead and jump in and tell us a little bit about this particular work. What is probably one of the questions you get asked at the beginning of most interviews is, what inspired you to write your own memoir?
I really had no intention of ever writing a memoir, except that I met somebody who I told my story to. And so this is back in 1994. So this is the memoir is not my full life. I'll write a follow-up book, but this particular book, Tiger of Beijing, is really about this young person trying to get out of China, and then how she actually got out and survived. It's only 3 years in my life. So 1994 was after I've survived. I came out on the other side, and I was telling somebody my story. So this is actually a policeman, this friend who has seen everything, right, in San Francisco. And after he heard my story, he just said, "My God, Joy, you better write your story. You need to write this story. You need to write it." He hammered that into me that I have to share the story. So it never left my mind. So when I had a chance in medical school, I took a year off. I traveled in Africa and different places, and I lived. So I went to UCLA, but I went to San Francisco, lived for a little bit, and I went down to San Diego, and that's when I felt I had the time to actually write this book. So because it's been on the back of my mind since 1994, so I started writing it in 2002. So that's 8 years after I, I was told that I need to write this. I need to share this story. It's gonna resonate with a lot of people. So that's how it came about.
Wow. And as you were obviously going back in your mind, as well as I'm sure elsewhere, to gather all of the information that you needed, did you find it difficult to go back into your past to remember and recall with some level of accuracy what you were wanting to share with the rest of us?
Yes, there are parts that are really fun, that are enjoyable to recollect and kind of travel with the old me in an adventure. But then, if everything's smooth sailing, everything is fantastic, it's not a good book, right? No one wants to read that you're just doing really well and feeling really good. So, obviously it came to a point where it was not fun. It was very difficult. It was, um, I was in a bad place psychologically, and in but of course the story is about triumphing. It's about
Mhm.
how you get out from the other side, but you have to describe what you're going through, right? So when I was describing it, um, I went back into my journals because I did a lot of journaling, and I was like, yeah, I'm going to reference what happened, what actually happened. So I'm going to get into details. And when I started reading my journals, I just got really, really angry, about what I was dealing with, about, I was with a very, very um, difficult person, it's quite toxic. And so I basically put myself back into that space, and I got really upset, so upset to the point where I felt I didn't care to write about it. I thought, who wants to read this shit? Literally, that's my word. I threw my journal down on the bed. I said, who wants to read this shit? I was just pissed off. Um, so I actually left alone, because I finished my book. Two-thirds was finished, but because the last third was so difficult, I stopped it. And that break was 17 years. So literally, so in the middle of medical school, right? The book was two-thirds finished. I threw my journal down, said, who hell with it, and just didn't look at it. But on the back of my mind, I'm not a person that likes giving up. And for me to do something that's halfway done, it doesn't sit well with my nature, right? So I'm always, thinking, gosh, that wasn't finished. Two-thirds, it was a lot of fun writing, the first half. And then it just got more difficult, but it's still a really good story. And a lot of people are going to benefit and from going through that journey with me, and they're going to learn a lot from it, and hopefully they will be inspired when they read it. So when I got into integrated medicine, anti-aging medicine, became an expert in stem cell therapy, that's when there are people who were talking with me about, about my life. I mentioned about this book, this unfinished book, and that's when that person was again pushing me. Well, when are you going to be done? When are you going to be done? When is the book going to come out? And I said 3 months. So once I put the word out, then I hold myself up to it. So I just decided not to read my journals. So I'm not going to put myself in that space, because that stopped me from finishing it. What I will do is to go from recollection, at least write down, finish the story, and then I can go back and flesh it out, because I'm not going to be taken over by upset and be kind of paralyzed by my own emotion. So that's what happened. And then within 3 months, I finished the book and published it, and that's that.
Mm. JoyKongMD.com is the website if you want to find out more about Joy as well as her book, which is, of course, the title being Tiger of Beijing. And I'm curious, are you the tiger?
I am. I've always identified very much with the tiger. I just thought they're just the most incredible creatures. So just mysterious and gorgeous and powerful and ferocious. Just everything I admire. So yeah, I've had a fascination with tigers. Actually, you can see in the background, you can see this. It's,
I see.
it's a portrait from my ex-husband, who is a phenomenal mythical artist. So that's supposed to be my self-portrait. Well, that's a mythical tiger. This is way before I started writing the book. Actually, no, that was after I wrote the book. I don't, did I even have the title? I don't think I even had a title.
Hmm.
Yeah. So, but that's how he saw me is, something that's, more than what eyes can see.
Well, I'll tell you, I have an affinity with tigers too. There's a story in my metaphysical primer, which is autobiography of a yogi about the tiger
Oh yeah.
swami going to battle with one of the most ferocious Bengal tigers that they had at that time, and the name of that tiger was Raja Begum, which is
Hmm.
princess. And for a
Hmm.
period of time back in Phoenix with my second wife, I actually took on that name for a while. Uh,
Hmm.
it just it kind of fit, and every once in a while it pops back up again. So I think it's very interesting that we have these different animals. Now, there's a difference between what we're talking about as far as you being the tiger and the tiger of Beijing, and then having our some call them totems or something of this nature, animal, a spirit animal, if you will. I've been told mine's the a bear. Have to do a little more research on that as well.
Hmm.
But I'm just wondering, you escaped at what age from China during this what's referred to as the Cultural Revolution in
Well, that Cultural Revolution really didn't have well, obviously had an impact on my life, but I was born in the middle of Cultural Revolution, but then I was a infant, right? So I didn't really know what's going on. My only glimpse into just the turmoil and the ideology was when I was in kindergarten. So
hmm
the Cultural Revolution is 1966 to 76. So I was
Okay.
born in 1971.
All right.
So when I was in the kindergarten, because my last name is Kong, which is Confucius' last name, and it's one of the most revered names in China, except that during Cultural Revolution, the Communist Party believed that China became backward and basically became weakened in the eyes of the world because we were keeping to our tradition too much, because we were too content with who we were. So we were not searching and advancing and growing because we everything has been static. The society was stable. We got the philosophy down. We
hmm
know that we treat each other with civility, and there's an order of society. You respect your elders, and there's a hierarchy. So as long as everyone's staying within that structure, everything is going well. And it lasted like that for thousands of years. So Confucius had a lot to do with it. Confucius, that was 2,500 years ago. So his philosophy contributed greatly to the stability of the Chinese culture. But he was villainized during Cultural Revolution because the Communist Party wanted the country to break free from the old traditions. So me carrying the last name of Kong made me a target. So when I was in kindergarten, somehow these kids got me on top of the cover of a air raid shelter. So usually you go in, right, that during air raids, this is Cold War stuff. But they got me on top of it. It's the same height as like a table tennis platform, right? About the same
hmm
size, the same height. So they got me on there, and I was like 5 years old. I was a little kid, and they were running around this platform, raising their arms, saying downfall Confucius," running all around. So I couldn't jump down because they were all running fast all around me. So that was my kind of inkling about, just a little bit of what's going on. There's the political atmosphere that I was in, but I did not personally get affected that much, except that the country was sick of this turmoil because people were fighting each other, and there's no productivity. Nothing productive was done. My mom wanted to be the second Madame Curie. She studied chemistry, and she was so angry because she wasted of her best years doing the so-called political struggles. So meetings and meetings every
Mm.
day when she really wanted to make a difference in science. So that's kind of that's atmosphere I grew up in. But I left when I was 20 years old. So I had my full education. I had 2 years of studying of architecture, but I wanted to search for something that allowed me more freedom. I wanted to be able to speak up more. Right. I got a taste of ability to speak up during COVID. So I didn't, there's no country that has the perfect system for sure. But I was, in a sense, escaping something I felt was restricting my ability to be the full spectrum of who I am.
So, in spite of, or I don't know, maybe even because of the restrictive government that exists, these individual thoughts still permeate the minds of the Chinese, which would be the case in pretty much any repressive country, whether it be China, Russia,
Or
if you live
America.
in, or America. Okay, we some some would say that as well. So it seems to me that eventually, even that regime will topple, and the people will rise up and say enough is enough. Similar to what seems sort of kind of to be happening here, and I also know that did happen in Russia
Mm,
before it became the USSR. My first wife's grandfather escaped Russia the night before the Bolshevik Revolution.
wow.
So, which raises a couple of other questions, and I'll jump in here with, and that is in terms of choice. You made some choices as you were reaching that place in your 20s where you said, I want more. I want more out of my life. I want to do more. I want to be more, et cetera, et cetera.
Hmm.
So, what were some of the hardest choices that you had to make in order to take that journey to I'm not even sure what word I want to use here of to the land of opportunity, to freedom, to self-determination. But what were some of the more difficult choices that you had to
Well,
make?
the most difficult choice is pretty much the decision to even leave the country because it seems insurmountable. The obstacle was so challenging that all my classmates, every student friend that I knew, were telling me, "Why are you even trying? It's next to impossible." So, I mean, it is almost impossible to get accepted by a school in America. And you know nobody. Like, how are you going to get there? And they reject visas. Only one out of maybe 10 students, even after they get to the point of having everything lined up, only one out of 10 actually get accepted. It's very, very difficult. So why are you even trying? So that's the first layer of decision. Am I going to try to do something that seems impossible in other people's eyes?
Hmm.
So, um, and I remember going through this serious consideration, literally 3 days and nights. I was wondering why the hell did I want to leave this country that I grew up in and I'm comfortable in? Everything is fine. Even though, yeah, okay, maybe there are things that I felt I couldn't say certain things, but is that such a big deal? Do I want to risk everything and do something that's really strenuous? So first, I have to get over the language barrier. I have to improve my English. And then I have to do the exams, and then I have to get my whatever transcripts. Everything. No one is helping me. There's no one that's going to just give you everything. You have to make everything up yourself, and the school has to be willing to allow you to give you the stamp and let you take your transcripts somewhere. And then even just to find the schools that I could have applied for. It's not like here you can just look up online. Um, at that time, the information is only in a particular book. This published book from, I think it's called Peterson's, this particular book that contains the information of all the schools because I had no access. And that book, as far as I knew at the time, is only in this one library in Beijing. And that library did not let students like me in there because I was only first year in college. You are only allowed to enter after you're the third year. So I wasn't even I couldn't even get into that library to get near that book. So these are the layers, and not to mention all the bureaucracies. I was so stuck at one point. And then of course you have to find a sponsor who is willing to basically on paper say that if something bad happens to you in America, you're not going to be destitute, and they're going to take up the financial responsibility, to help you. So how would I find a person that's willing to do that? I knew nobody. The only people I knew, my family knew, were my parents' students. So my dad's professor, my mom's high school teacher. So I was very lucky because I grew up on probably the most prestigious university in China. It's called Tsinghua University. So which means we have top-notch students. And only the top-notch usually got to leave the country and go to America. So we actually knew students that were in America, and we had to ask the favor, right? It's a lot of asking for favor, which is hard psychologically because I hate that. I hate relying on people. I hate, asking people for favor. It just and because they may reject you as well. So you have to be prepared that people don't want to help you. So all these layers. So that's the first step of even just get to the point where you can send letters to universities and they can look at you and consider you for a scholarship. Even if they give you a scholarship, which was the case for me, they gave me a pretty nice scholarship, Clark University in Massachusetts, but there's still other expenses to be taken care of. And so they didn't give me a complete, full scholarship, taking care of everything. So they gave me a nice scholarship, but didn't take care of the entire expenses. So that puts me more at risk for rejection of the visa. And that's what happened. So chapter one of my book was my visa rejection. So that's where I start. I start with a slap on my face, basically.
Mm.
You're all pumped up, you're ready to go. My parents and I, we were gonna, get the visa and go to this shopping mall to buy myself a suitcase, maybe buy one or two pieces of clothes because we literally have, we may buy one new piece of clothes a year. And just, we lived on very little. So been really pumped and flat out rejection. So that was really, really hard, especially as a young person. When you're young and confident, you think you got the world by the tail. And then when you realize your limitations of how little power you have, that's when I actually felt sad. I felt like a almost like a depression, this contrast of being really pumped up, ready to go for a new life and explore this new country, to being told that absolutely not. And once you're rejected, there's like 6 months period where you can't reapply. I mean, there's a process. So so I was feeling down for 3 days because it was just it was a surprise actually. So, but I think part of me, one of my greatest attributes, I think, is my resilience. Because even if something that's not good happens to me, I always have a way of turning that into something good. Because in my mind, I can make this the best thing that ever happened to me.
Mm.
So,
Hmm.
and I've
Hmm.
seen that in myself, several times, even at that time, because I knew that even if something did not go my way, somehow I could make that the best thing that ever happened. So, and that's what I did. It could be the best thing that ever happened, but I have to make something happen, right? I'm not just going to sit on my ass thinking that something's going to change. You have to go do something about it.
Yeah.
Even though you may not know what you're doing, which was in my case, I didn't know what I was doing because I was rejected really because I didn't know anybody in America. And the
Hmm.
person that wrote my affidavit of support was my mom's student. And so the American embassy did not believe that he would help me. And so that's really, really the crux of the matter, that they were like, wow, this is a good reason to reject her. So, so I decided that I was going to know somebody. I knew no Americans, but and there weren't that many Americans in China. but somehow I'm gonna find one. I'm gonna
Hmm.
I'm gonna make it happen. It
Yeah.
seems so far-fetched, right? It's like, yeah, especially at that time. There's so little opportunities. And so in my anger about how people were able to stop me from reaching for my dream, that anger was propelling me to do things that are more drastic than I would have usually done. So what I did was completely impulsive. I took the yellow pages of Beijing and I thought, I'm just gonna find where people are. So hotel seems to be a good place,
Mm.
and I'm gonna go for the best hotels. So there are gonna be people who are traveling to China. They may have resources. Maybe they will listen to me. I don't know. I don't know. I just need to get in front of people. So I started calling random rooms. So that's kind of the the beginning of the story of how I manage to kind of like almost like a pry your way. You're, prying open this door that
Yeah.
was shut in your face.
That's amazing. And of course, that was your first experience with salesmanship, so to speak. You had to sell yourself and find a way to do it. Now, because a couple of years ago, my wife and I ran into a little bit of a financial bind, and I thought, okay, I'm going to ask for help. All right. I'm not 100% great at it, but I know that I was getting this gut feeling, this voice inside said, ask for help.
Hmm.
So I put together this text and I then sent it to a whole bunch of people that I know, my mother, my sisters, da 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 da. And the one of the my mom was concerned, and she actually called and she said, "Was this legitimate? I mean, are you guys really in need?" And I said, "Yes." And then I went back and I read the text, and I'm looking at it going, yeah, I can see how she could see that looks like a scam. So you gotta know how to put it. We're talking with Joy Kong. Her book Tiger of Beijing is the book, and her website joykongmd.com. That's JoyKongMD.com. We hope you will go there, check out the work that she's doing as we continue here on Tell Me Your Story. I am Reverend Dr. D. Richard Dugan, and we're here talking with Joy Kong, author of Tiger of Beijing. Is this your first book? And out of the gates, it's a memoir.
Yeah, it's the first book. So I originally really wanted to just write a novel, because I think fiction writing is really fun, really interesting, and because it's such a good story. It makes a good fiction. It actually makes a good movie because it's dramatic, it's cinematic.
Mm-hmm.
So it includes the places, gorgeous places tr that I traveled to in China, and a very intense romantic story, and then a story of just hardship psychologically and how you get out of that. So um, it, I thought I didn't need people to know that it's me. I mean, it doesn't matter. The story's the story. I just wanted to share the story because, I didn't care that people knew it was me or not. So I started writing the book in the third person, actually named myself June. And so I started writing about June and, her experiences, and she feels this way, and she was, remembering that, blah, blah, blah. So I was describing her. And then I just got sick of it because I felt that was limiting my flow because
Mm-hmm.
I feel this force from inside of me. I want to talk about how I feel and I don't want to talk about June. So then I decided, is that hell with this. So what if the whole world knows that this happened to me, Joy Kong? Big deal. Like what's the big deal that everybody knows that it's me? Because one day I'm gonna die and no one cares and it doesn't even matter to me anymore. So like what am I hiding from? I'm just hiding from the truth because I think truth is so powerful. I love reading real life stories because it actually happened. The world is that fascinating, is that intricate, and it sometimes is having drama can be, in real life can be more dramatic than in a novel. So I decided to just be open about it, so the world know is me. But I think it gives power because it's actually real. It's not made up. And I just want to speak the truth. And that's kind of the story of my whole life, that I always speak the truth, because I think if you don't speak truth, you're hiding, you can't hide. You can call it the universe, God. The truth is there. Someone knows. So who are you hiding? Who are you running from? It makes no sense. So I just wanted to, yeah, to be completely open and share the power of the story.
Well, I know that if anybody has followed my career and the interviews that I've done that have been heard on the radio throughout the last 40, 45 years, they could write my unauthorized autobiography
Mm,
because I'm kind of the same way. My perspective is this, I know a lot of people, whether it's medicine and the HIPAA laws or it's someone trying to steal your identity and so on and so forth. Um, uh, the From my philosophical perspective, the universe, God, the divine already knows everything. So what difference if 8.5 billion other people know it, and most of them are too busy just going from day to day? They don't care.
no.
They don't care. Now, when it's put into a context such as what you've done with a Tiger of Beijing, that's a whole nother story in that regard. And I wanted to ask you in that regard, in terms of what I'll consider your tenacity or your fierceness, as was described earlier. Um, was there an undercurrent or underlying belief or faith in someone, something? Because you mentioned Confucius earlier in the program, as far as Kong being his last name. And I'm just wondering what philosophy or what faith, belief, spiritual or otherwise, that you were able to or that you did turn to help you through those moments when you kept getting blocked at every turn.
I grew up in an atheist society. So we were
Mhm.
groomed to accept that there's no God, and that, that was the how I was growing up. So I was an arrogant little kid thinking that the physical world, this is all that it is, until I was about 15. Um, and especially 15, I think that's when we started to hear about stories of Qigong, which is the Chinese form of meditation,
Mhm.
and about the dramatic stories of people being healed. And so this whole world of spiritual existence, it seems like there's something we can't see that's happening. So that's seeping back into the culture because it was completely squashed. And then it started to come back. That's deeply rooted in Chinese culture of this more spirit world, of things that we don't understand. So that was the beginning. And when I was 18, I started meditating. I read a book of this Qigong master who healed so many people, and these just real accounts of what happened to these people. And I just thought, as much as I love science, if I want to continue to call myself a lover of science, I better accept that this is reality, that this exists, because I'll be a hypocrite and not a real scientist if I deny its existence.
Mhm.
So to me, that was a transformation, that I have to open up my mind to things that I cannot see. So I started meditating, um, kind of because the way I grew up is not, it's not about God, but Taoism is very much about being in tune with nature, following the way, the natural, the universal law, right? The way that allows the energy to flow. And so the Chinese culture is a really unique blend of three different philosophies. You can barely call them religions, but Confucianism is one pillar that allows you to know your place in society and how you want to interact with everybody around you to make the society a harmonious place. And there's the Buddhism that came in when China was gripped with civil warfare and a lot of suffering, death, famine. So the religion became popular because it talks about how everything is empty. It doesn't, it's in the end is all empty, that you shouldn't be so attached to whatever that's happening to you. So people start to detach from their suffering. But then they also are accepting that there's something beyond, right? Something that's not visible in this world.
Mhm.
But it still is a very philosophical way of looking at the world, of just the nature of suffering. And then there's Taoism, which is kind of a free-flowing acceptance of the law of nature, of how you should exist to go along with the law of how the universe works. And if you follow that flow, then you will be in harmony. So there's this really interesting blend. So none of them is God-centered, right? They're very much philosophical, but still, just because they didn't talk about God doesn't mean that people do not have a spiritual yearning or a spiritual understanding. So, so to me, it's always a respect of something that I cannot see. That there's something that there are people who have come before me, who have devoted years to meditation and to diving into the world of the unseen, that they are able to figure something out. So I believe that there are people who have that capability. And so I was a student. I was willing to learn and grow and expand. So it's almost always a way of me in this world trying to learn and trying to grow. Until this day, it's still, I think the purpose is now I'm adding the segment of to enjoy, because I wasn't focusing on enjoying it, right? That's a whole living in the moment, the power of now is to be present. And actually I think we're meant to be here to enjoy. But our consciousness has been the stumbling block for humanity, is that we have a more primitive, lower level consciousness. This is why humanity is so full of suffering. But anyhow, so to me, it's just a matter of respecting that there's a life force inside of me, that I've always known that I'm a very good person. I feel it deep down. I want to be good, and I'm good. I want to help people. I want to be just, I'm just like, I'm just good. I'm a good person.
Mhm.
So how do I allow the goodness inside of me to flourish? And how do I not be subjugated to people who have lower levels of consciousness, right? How do I free myself? So that became kind of the theme. And I think that's the struggle I encountered during the length of the book, which was only 3 years, between age 20 to 22. So this very, it's not a long period of time, but it's 3 very dramatic years. But have I kept doing that after this? It's the same thing, the growth. Even what I'm doing now with stem cell therapy, I'm fighting against the grain. So even though it's gaining more popularity, I've been doing stem cell therapy for 9 years. Things have changed a lot in the last 9 years when it comes to acceptance, but still, this is considered on the fringe. Um, I don't even care what country you're in, it's still on the fringe because the Western medicine has been so entrenched. But again, this is a matter of consciousness, of people opening themselves up to possibilities, the secret of life. How how is the blueprint made? Like, how does everything work? So we're starting to decipher that. And in that, there's spiritual awakening, because you get to understand how you're
Yeah.
made, who you are, and how we tick. Yeah. So it's all kind of coming together as one.
Joy Kong, my guest here on the program, Tell Me Your Story. I'm Reverend Dr. D. JoyKongMD.com is the website. Tiger, Tiger of Beijing is the title of her book, 3 year period there, her memoir. That obviously we're going to have volumes 2, 3, 4, and 5, I'm sure, as she goes along there, as we continue here on Tell Me Your Story. You raise some interesting subjects, stem cell research, and obviously in this country, people have been going a little berserk over the whole thing, in terms of where they're getting the stem cells from. And it's like, and again, I know very little about it. I've just what I've seen, in the media in terms of that. And then there's this other thing called CRISPR. And then there's always this question that comes up, this nagging question that I have, and that has to do with just because we can, does that mean we should? But it also goes back to what was mentioned earlier, and that's how do we know that this isn't the path that we're supposed to take? If we read the ancient wisdom teachings and so forth. By the way, I love Taoism because it reinforces my belief
Mm,
that our greatest teacher is nature.
mm,
Show me what other species other than man stores up for more than a season. There isn't one. And
mm,
that speaks to the aspect of eating fresh, whatever it is that you're eating, vegetables and fruits and so forth. Um, but going back to what you have been studying, why did you go into the area of stem cell research? What was it about it that intrigued you so much?
um, because you are packing into this particular entity called a cell. I mean, not I didn't pack into it. The universe packed into this cell supreme intelligence, so supreme that it can make you. So tell me that's not incredible and powerful and awe-inspiring. So if that cell has that kind of intelligence, and now we're borrowing even just a little piece of it, the potential is that we can regenerate tissue. We can make things whole, fresh and whole, right? Isn't that the goal? Because modern medicine has failed in so many aspects because it's making people hanging on and the tissues are still diseased. We're not making new ones. We're not fundamentally fixing problems. So
Hmm.
now we have a chance that we can completely fix it. I can make you fresh and new. So, and in theory, that's what can happen. And what's really fun is to see the evidence that it actually works because I started delving into research, into published studies. Not like every time is 100% reversal of diseases, of course, but is able to accomplish things that modern medicine, the conventional medicine, have absolutely no way of accomplishing. Not even, 1% of what these cells can do. So
Hmm.
that's when it becomes really fun. Imagine as a healer, right? I consider myself a healer. Yeah, I carry the title doctor, MD, but deep down, I wanted to heal. I wanted to bring forth something, some kind of power into making people better because I don't want them to suffer. Starting from me trying to help my mom with her back pain, I wanted her to feel better. I wanted her not to suffer. So if you don't have the tools, and day in and day out, you're just giving people drug after drug and they're still suffering. That is a drain on your soul. This is why so many doctors are quitting medicine, not to mention the insurance companies, are cutting their reimbursement. So the doctors who are trapped in this system, they are making less and less money. They're seeing more and more patients, and they're not satisfied. It's a pathetic existence. Is not good for your soul. So that is something I wanted to be away from. I wanted to make a real difference. And when I encounter stem cells, seeing what it can do and seeing the elegance of it, and that's what's really fun. I can inject the stem cells into the veins. The cells have the intelligence to know where to go and what to do. And literally, I'm just like, I'm hands off. All I have to do is know what kind of cells, hopefully, to put in the body, where to put is the best place. So that's the art of stem cell therapy. And then the cells are just going to do the rest. So to me is a chance to be really effective, to be competent, right? To be a
Hmm.
competent healer, to actually make something happen. So that's what drew me to it.
And I know we're getting close to the end here, but I wanted to ask, where does this come into play in terms of stem cell research? Because I learned in biology class that we have a brand new body cellularly every 7 years. And yet, a case in point, I lost all of the vision in my left eye due to glaucoma. But
Mm.
even those cells every 7 years are going to be brand new cells by comparison to today, right? So, what is going on, and why is it that if I cut my skin and it heals over the course of a period of time, you probably won't even see a scar, and yet my eye will not regenerate back to the cells that would be healthy cells to allow me to see out of that eye? Is that part of
Yeah,
the
well, every organ
process?
regenerate at different rates and different
Sure.
degrees. So
Okay.
the eyes and central nervous system is challenging. It's difficult. It's very slow growing and slow moving. Can we make a big difference? Yes, with stem cell therapy, but all the tissues are very different in
Okay.
their capabilities. Yeah.
But it is my questioning, of course, is part of the process that you're involved in with stem cell research. And that's really kind of cool. We're talking with Joy Kong. JoyKongMD.com is the website. And we also hope you'll get a copy of her book, Tiger I don't know why I keep messing this up. Tiger of Beijing. Tiger of Beijing is the title of the book. Please get a copy and go to her website as well as we continue here on Tell Me Your Story. Because of the fact that we only get so much time with our guests sometimes on the program, we have to wrap things up, and there are still things rattling around in my head. See, the universe asks the questions. I'm just along for the ride, okay?
Mm,
But the universe is going to have to stop putting questions into my head for the time being because I want, first of all, would like to thank you for taking the time to share your story with us as well as through your book, Tiger
yeah.
of Beijing,
Well,
and
since
being a
we
part of
have
what we're doing here.
Right. Since we don't have much time, I want to point people to some resources because there's so much about stem cells and it's so misunderstood. And
Yeah.
even till this day, the myths persist so persistently. So if people want to understand a little bit more about stem cell therapy, please go to my YouTube channel. So just Joy Kong MD and just put my name in there and look up whatever subject. Stem cells, I talk about how many cells you need, what type of cells you need, are different cells, are they equal, coming from different tissue sources? How long does it take to notice benefit? How many sessions do you need to do? And then also I have lectures where, I give lectures in different national, international conferences about, for example, I have a lecture on autism, stem cell therapy for autism, stem cell therapy for anti-aging purposes, so how it can slow down and reverse aging. And I have one on diverse diseases, so what stem cell therapy has been found to do in all these different conditions. So there are just a lot of resources on YouTube, completely free. People can take a deep dive and really be educated, know what you're getting, know what you're doing, and don't just trust that some doctor, in one clinic is telling you something. Really
Mm.
do your research because it's actually very accessible. It's all there. It's funny. I still have doctors asking me questions about proof of things when they can just look up themselves.
Yeah.
So I don't know why they're challenging me on social media when it's very easy. Whatever subject you want to look up and you want to look up published articles, just the subject and scholarly articles. Just push that in. You got all these published articles. Be a doctor. Be a researcher.
Yeah.
And
But there are those skeptics who believe what Abraham Lincoln said. He said, never believe anything you read on the internet. Hey, thank you again so much. I do have three final questions that I'd like to ask you that I ask all of my guests. But first, I'd like to thank you for listening to and watching Tell Me Your Story, New Paradigms for a New World, where we are giving you choices and knowledge of those choices to help make your dreams come true. Sundays at 7 a.m. and 7 p.m., Monday mornings at 1 a.m., Wednesdays at 9 a.m., and Monday through Friday from 8 to 9 a.m., streaming live at all those times at richarddugan.com. We're podcasting on SoundCloud, iTunes, TuneIn Radio, Spotify, Stitcher, Player FM, Blueberry, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and we're on YouTube where you can watch these conversations. Please subscribe and click notification. We also ask you to go to Amazon and get a copy of my book, Choices 5 Steps for Life. It's available in hardcover, paperback, and Kindle. And then if you could leave us a tip, we'd really appreciate it. Our tip jar is called PayPal. And if you go to richarddugan.com, there are links to both Amazon for choices and PayPal for that tip. And we thank you. Thank you in advance for those who have helped and to those who will help. And we also ask that you take some time to go within to that quiet, peaceful, calm, still place and listen to that still, small voice. With all of that being said, we ask our final questions of our very special guest. And the first of those three is, who is Joy Kong?
Joy Kong is a fearless soul, really, to come into this world to experience, and is willing to go to places that are a little scary, and it has some courage. I think that's one thing that's I could say that I'm very brave. Brave in a lot of ways, and that has allowed me to have a broader range of experience and accomplish things that other people may not be able to do because they are in fear. So I don't buy into fear. I I'm born just somehow with a little less fear in my heart.
Mm.
So I'm just gonna go out and experience and make something happen. One thing I knew about me since I was a little kid is that I'm here to do things. So everyone have their different life path, and my life path is that I'm here to make things happen because there's something inside of me that wants to come through, that there's power. The saying is, if you what is it? If you let what is it that you let what's inside of you, yeah, if you what is it, the word, you speak what's inside of you, what's inside of you is going to set you free. If
Hmm.
you don't allow what's inside of you to come through, then what's inside of you will destroy you. So I think that that's the problem for some people, is that they're not allowing their inner voice to come through. So my inner voice is to go out there and make a difference and just do things. And that's why my Thanksgiving, I spent probably 75% of my time working, which made me super happy.
Happiness is important. What gets you up in the morning?
Oh, I don't know. Run on a motor. Um, yeah, just keep growing and keep making a difference in the world, and because I know I'm capable and I have things to offer, so I'm just gonna keep pushing. And Yeah, but at the same time, now I'm learning to spend more time um, to actually enjoy, spend a little bit more moment to reflect
Mhm.
of just how beautiful this life is.
A final question. What was your best day?
Whew, the best day. Maybe that's when I have to admit, spending time with family and actually having fun and enjoying life. My mom was alive. I think when we all go to a park, beautiful place, palaces and or a park with lake, and we would row on the boat. We rent a boat and row on the boat and have picnic, and then we play cards, put newspaper on big slabs of stone and just sit and play cards, me, my parents, my brother. That was just really, really wonderful.
Mhm.
So time with family.
Wonderful. Well, again, thank you so much for being with us. And I thank you for listening to and watching Tell Me Your Story, New Paradigms for a New World. And until our next broadcast, podcast, video cast, love to Lal. Jeanette, I'm still listening. Dad, continue to be happy because I am. Smokey, I'll see you on the other side. Mike, thanks for being in my life and letting me be in yours. And to my dear friend Zorro, aho, aho.